Welcome everyone to another episode of Heavy Forehands with Toro. Here's your host, Felipe Acosta, and we are ready to continue talking about tennis. And in the episode of today, we have a pretty busy agenda, but we're gonna keep it short, we're gonna keep it light, and get us moving. But first, I just want to say thank you all for continue listening my podcast. I think I posted in social media a couple times that my audience is really diverse. It's coming from Argentina, United States, a couple countries in Europe, even Africa, Asia. So I'm pretty happy about it. So thank you all for listening to my podcast. And I'm pretty excited about this one actually. But before, I just want to say that continue following me on social media and click subscribe and follow on the Spotify podcast with Heavy Forehands with Toro. And follow me on social media at Felia Costa 1. All right, guys, let's get going with this one. And I'm going to give you a kind of like an agenda for today. First, we're going to be talking about the news section about the podcast that is going to be starting in the next couple of weeks. Then we're gonna be doing a quick recap of the tournament in Toronto, and also the next section will be what's gonna happen next week in Cincinnati. So we're gonna be talking about the draw and who are the players and who are the favorites, and then we're gonna be closing out the day with what is coming next. Where do I want to take Heavy Forehands with Toro? So you guys can have a snapshot of the future. All right, guys, let's get going. I'm pretty excited about this one. All right, guys, let's get discussing this new section of the podcast called Toro's Tips. In this section, you, the audience, my followers, you guys are gonna send me a video of yourself playing tennis about a specific stroke or just playing a point in general, and I'm gonna tell you what you guys can improve on. So this section started as an idea with a closest friend of mine that I play tennis fairly often, and also some of you guys, some of my followers asked me that if we could take a look at some of your strokes. So I'm happy to start this new section of the podcast. As soon as we get some videos in the pipeline, we're gonna be launching this section. Ideally, we're gonna be doing it with another friend of mine, that we can be discussing different strokes. So for example, you send a video of hitting forehands and you hit like 5, 6 tennis shots in a row. And then we're gonna do a video version of the podcast where I can review the strokes and give you some pointers if you're hitting the ball late, if you're not preparing early, if you're not moving your feet, which I'm always encouraging people of moving their feet. So okay, guys, so that's a quick intro to the new section of the podcast. So start sending those videos and then I'll give you some pointers. Okay, guys, let's get moving. Okay, in the next section, we have the review of the Canadian Open or the National Bank Open. In this tournament, we had Jannik Sinner finally getting his first Master 1000 title, beating Alex de Minaur in the final for 6-4 and 6-1. And we had a pretty good draw, actually. We had really good players in this tournament, including Carlos Alcaraz, Dani Medvedev, Casper Ruud, Tsitsipas, Rune, Rublev, Fritz, Tiafoe, a lot of really good names. But surprisingly, the last 4 in the tournament were not the top seeded players. These include Tommy Paul, Jannik Sinner, the winner, Alex de Minaur, who is outside the top 10, and Alejandro Fokina, the Spanish player. Funny, I was reviewing the old draw of the Canadian Open or the Toronto Open from back in 2009, and we had in that draw the semifinals were Roger Federer against Andy Murray, and then Andy Roddick against Del Potro. So compare the level of those 4 players against Tommy Paul, Sinner, Fokina, and de Minaur. And even worse, if you compare the quarterfinals of the 2009 tournament against these quarterfinals, the difference is even bigger. I remember back then we had, in addition to Federer, Roddick, Murray, and Del Potro, we also had Davidenko, Zonga, Djokovic, and Nadal in the draw. So imagine those top eight players. Well, that was insane. And in this year we had, in addition to Sinner, Paul, Fokina, and Deminar, we had Danny Medvedev, who lost against Deminar surprisingly. Then we had Mackenzie McDonald, who lost against Fokina. And then Gael Monfils, really good player, really good story, really good history behind him. But he was injured, so injured for a couple of months. So he's getting back into the tour. And Carlos Alcaraz, who of course number one in the world. But if you compare these eight players against those eight from 2009, I think the level wise or history wise, the difference is so big. But anyways, I'm rambling like always. And in this quarterfinals matchup, we had some interesting play matchups. So we had Carlos Alcaraz losing against Tommy Paul, and Tommy Paul played lights out. He was playing unbelievable, and then didn't do enough against Sinner in the semis. I think what happened there is that Tommy is really consistent, great mover, and he has a really good quality ball, but he doesn't put the ball away, and he gives Sinner a lot of rhythm. And then against Alcaraz, I think Carlos was having maybe like an off day, but Tommy was way more consistent, and that's what in the end made the difference. But Tommy Paul is having a really good year. I remember back in Australia, he made the semifinals. So he's gonna have to defend those points next year. We'll see how it goes there. But he continued to have a good year. He beat Carlos Alcaraz last year in the same tournament, but then lost against Sinner in this one. And then Sinner, like always, he gets after his shots. He's intense with his feet. He's on top of the ball all the time, and from the baseline, he has a big backhand, big forehand. So it's really tough to break him down. And then on the other semifinals, we have Fokina and Deminar that played really early in the day, and it was so windy. Those guys couldn't play at a really good point. For moments they were just pushing the ball. From one side, it was against the wind, so they couldn't hit the ball really big. And from the other side of the court, the other player was just like blowing barely the ball because he couldn't hit it hard. So it was a really ugly matchup where Alex beat Fokina 6-1, 6-3, and Fokina was really off. The Spanish player, he couldn't make a ton of balls, and when they were making balls, the rallies, they were mostly way below the maximum pace of shots. And then in the final, Jannik finally playing. No, he already played a couple Master 1000 finals, but he had never won one before this. And then Alex, it was his first Master 1000 final, and last week he made final in Los Cabos where he lost against Tsitsipas. So it was an interesting match where both of the players, they were going after their first Master 1000 winner at the title, and Jannik Sinner finally got it, beating him 6-4, 6-1. I think what happened in this matchup is that Alex doesn't have big shots. He's really consistent from the baseline, and sometimes he tries to take the ball early to try to push the other guys. But I think his ball is coming kind of flat, and it's coming right at the Jannik Sinner waist, and that's the strike zone that he loves. So where he can continue punishing his strokes. And Jannik played well. He took his chances. I believe in the first set, both of the players were a little bit tighter. They were breaking each other's serves back and forth. But once Jannik won the first set, there was a really big difference in that second set, where he got 2 breaks to close out his first Master 1000 title. Funny enough, there's another coincidence. These two guys they played doubles together in the tournament. So Yannick and Alex played doubles and they lost. I believe in that they lost in the first round. Let me double check my facts, but I believe they lost in the first round. So in the kind of like the press conference right after the match when they are receiving the trophies, they were both laughing about it how they didn't do so well on the doubles, but they both made the finals. And I think they have a really good relationship. They practice together in Monaco often. Both are fairly young. I think Yannick Sinner is he's born in 2001, and I think Deminar is my age. He's born in 1999. So they know each other for a while. So, anyways, congrats to both players. Congrats, Yannick, for finally getting his first Master 1000 title. Well deserved. He's one of the nicest guys on tour, really respectful, and he seems like a hard worker guy. I really like his game. He has a massive game. As soon as he starts getting into the net a little more often and keeps improving his serve, I think he's gonna be a big contender for the major titles. So he's gonna be an important player coming up for the U.S. Open, and we'll see how he does here in Cincinnati. As we finish talking about the Toronto Open or the Canadian Open, we have the Cincinnati tournament coming up next week. And this tournament is called the Western and Southern Open, which is played in the United States. In this tournament, we have a really good draw, actually. It's a really interesting seeded players, and also the schedule is really interesting. So let's get started with the top 8 players in the draw. We're going to have Carlitos Alcaraz as the number 1 seed. We have the 2nd seed, Novak Djokovic, who finally is playing again in the United States. I believe in 2022 he couldn't because he didn't get vaccinated, but they took away that kind of regulation, that law that you need to be vaccinated before entering the United States. I think the last time he played it was in 2021 in the US Open, so it's gonna be 2 years almost already since then. So glad to have Joko again. He hasn't played a tournament since Wimby. And the number three seed, we have Danny Medvedev, who played in Toronto, but lost against Alex de Minaur. So we'll see how he does in this one. And then we have Stefanos Tsitsipas, a number 4 seed. Casper Ruud, number 5 seed. Holger Rune, number 6 seed. Andrei Rublev, number 7. And the 8th seed is going to be Jannik Sinner, who comes to this tournament after winning the Toronto Open. So really strong 8 players, but more interesting is going to be the match previous to the quarterfinals, which are the matches where the top 8 are supposed to play against. Carlos Alcaraz has a really tough draw. He's supposed to play John Isner in the 2nd round, or Jordan Thompson, but in the 3rd round he's supposed to play Tommy Paul, who he lost to last week. Then going down the draw, we have, I think Tiafoe is gonna play Casper Ruud in 3rd round. I think Francis can beat Casper Ruud especially playing here in Cincinnati, where he's the local player, he's the local star. And then I believe Carlos is gonna beat Paul this week, but it's gonna be a tough matchup. And that quarterfinal matchup, I think it's gonna be Alcaraz and Francis Tiafoe. Going down the draw, we also have Stefanos Tsitsipas coming there, who's gonna play Ben Shelton or Christopher Eubanks. That's a really tough first round for both Ben and Christopher. And then I think Tsitsipas is going to come through and play Borna Koric in the 3rd round. Look at Borna. Borna is also playing Korda, so that might be a tough match. But Korda is coming back from an injury, so we'll see. Rublev is also in that part of the draw. He's supposed to play his really good friend Karen Khachanov in 3rd round. Continue going down the draw, we have Holger Rune. This is the bottom half already, who is supposed to play Mackenzie McDonald. in the second round. There's some interesting matchups here. In this part of the draw, we also have Felix Eliasim, who is having one of the worst years of his career, and he's playing Matteo Berrettini in first round. So that's an interesting match. Both of the players are not having a good year. I think Matteo can beat actually Felix. So we'll see. I'm gonna put my money in Matteo there. But Holger Rune is a strong player there. He's supposed to play Danny Medvedev in the quarterfinals. And then as we continue going down, we have Yannick Sinner, who is going to play the winner of Francisco Cerúndolo and Dusan Lajovic. That's going to be a really tough first round. Hopefully Fran wins there and beats Dusan, and then Sinner, hopefully he's kind of tired and Fran can take him out of the draw. Also, the winner of that second round matchup is going to play Taylor Fritz, if Taylor Fritz makes it to the third round. And the bottom half, the last players in the bottom half, we have Norrie, who is playing Gael Monfils in the first round. That's a really tough first round match. Remember that Gael Monfils is coming back from that injury. He made quarterfinals last week. And Norrie, he's ranked 13 in the world. He's a really strong player, or he's the 13th seed, so I think he's like top 15 at least. And Gael, he's playing with his protected ranking. I believe he's outside of the top 200 right now, or outside top 150. And then Alex Deminar, he's not a seeded player, so he's gonna be a dangerous player in the draw. He's gonna be playing the winner of Norrie and Monfils if he beats JJ Wolf. And finally, in the bottom half of the draw, we have our friend Novak Djokovic, who is waiting for the winner of Davidovich Fokina and Tommy Echeverry from Argentina. Hopefully the same here. Hopefully Tommy, I think he knows Fokina for a while already. They are the same age, both born in '99, so they have been playing since the juniors together. Hopefully Tommy plays against this guy who is kind of tired after playing the Toronto Open, and then maybe he can have a rematch against Djoko, who I think they played each other did they play each other in Rome? I think that's where they played each other. I think it was a pretty tough matchup. I think it was like 7-6, 6-3. And Djoko hasn't played since Wimbledon. It's been over a month already. And usually the first matches of a tournament, he's kind of getting into the rhythm. And as you know, in so far this year, he hasn't performed as well in the non-major events. Of course, he has won the Aussie Open, the French, and made finals of Wimbledon. But then I think he has gone early in a couple of tournaments, so that's a good opportunity for Tommy to beat Djoko there if he beats Fokina first. So that's an interesting draw. A lot of good players. It's nice to have Djoko again. I think Carlos is gonna pick up his level from that bad match against Paul last week, but all the players are trying to get ready for the U.S. Open. So this is for most of them, this is the last tournament they're gonna play going into it. So it's a really important step in the process. So it's gonna be an interesting draw. I'm very excited. I think actually that Djoko is gonna lose early in the draw. And I don't know if early, but I don't think he's gonna win it. Being honest, I think he's gonna win the U.S. Open. That's why I'm gonna give you my prediction. I don't think he's gonna win the Cincinnati tournament, but I think he's gonna win the U.S. Open. And then I think my favorite for this tournament, I'm gonna put Carlitos up there. I think my favorite is gonna be Carlitos, number one, and I'm gonna put and number two I'm gonna put Medvedev, and then Djokovic, despite not being my favorite, he's number three. So I'm gonna put Djoko number 3 here. Okay, guys, so this is all that I have about the Cincinnati Open. So this is a really good draw. We'll see how it goes, and I'm gonna be do the recap next week for sure. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I tried to keep it short and sweet. It was only about 20-25 minutes. Sometimes I speak for 40 because I start rambling a lot. But I think we covered a lot of ground. We dive into Toronto. We talk about the Cincinnati Draw, which I think is going to be a great tourney. And I think I also like that you guys now know the path where I'm trying to take the Heavy Forehands with Toro podcast. So, anyway, guys, thanks again for listening. Please follow me on social media, and remember, try to try to send your videos. Either sending me by email. I can share my email, or you can also share my share via Instagram, or we're gonna find a way. So send me your videos, and I'm gonna try to make you appear on my podcast, and I can review your either forehand, serve, backhand, your movement, so we can get your tennis skills up. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.